What's going on, y'all? Thanks for checking in the Khaliis Take. You know what to do. Hit that like, subscribe button. Also hit that notification bell just so you can get the newest and the bonus content first. But hey, let's just go ahead and jump right in. It's been a crazy year for the Lakers. It's been very up and down. Very, very disappointing if you ask me. The team is just not lived up to expectation. LeBron is doing the best he can, but it's just really not good enough. It's a bunch of empty calories, putting up a lot of great points, but it doesn't really amount to much because they're not winning. And when I say another challenge for the Lakers, tonight is another challenge for the Lakers going against the Los Angeles Clippers, probably the most resilient team in the NBA. No lead is safe against this team. I mean, even though they're a very roller coaster up and down team, have a bunch of average players, but it's still the battle of LA. Even though all the stars aren't there, all the stars on the line, Kawhi Leonard, PG isn't there, things like that. Maybe LeBron might not play, who knows, but it's still about pride. It's still about who's the best team in LA. And the Lakers lost to the Clippers earlier this season. Luke Kennard had probably the biggest shot at the end of the game, had a big game. I think Terrence Mann had a big game for the Clippers. And the Lakers fell short. And I believe LeBron James played at that point. So, for the Lakers to keep afloat in the battle of LA, just to keep them relevant in LA, you got to at least try to beat the Clippers once out of the 2 or 3 game series that they have during the regular season. And this is one of those games where, the Lakers need to try to come out and win. Now, will they win? I'm not sure about that because, as I said before, the Clippers are just a crazy team to play against. You can be up 25, you could be up 35, but as we see, no lead is safe with them. They actually play better when they're down by 25, 35 points rather than if the game is tied 25 to 25. Which is very, very weird to say, but that's just how the Clippers have been built this season. And even without their superstars, they're still a tough mentality, fighter type mentality type team. Ty Lue definitely has them in the right direction. A lot of the young players are starting to understand what it takes to be a professional basketball player and what it takes to try to be a winner, even though they don't have their main superstars, but they're learning on the job. And everybody knows experience is the best teacher. It's no other way to look at it. So this is a big game for the Los Angeles Lakers in regards to, keeping their bragging rights up and, having the opportunity to beat a team that's a rival of theirs to maybe build confidence for them going forward to propel them through the rest of the season. Now, like I said, LeBron is a question. AD is always a question whether he's hurt or healthy. And Russell is going to be Russell. But at the same time, is that going to be good Russ or bad Russ? Is it going to be the one that gives you 10 turnovers or is it going to be the one that gives you 10 assists and maybe 3 turnovers with about 20 plus points, which possibly can help, the Los Angeles Lakers win this game against the Los Angeles Clippers, but it's definitely going to be a tough game. And honestly, I can almost see this game probably going into overtime. I mean, right now, based upon the two teams, from what I've seen the last several weeks, I would say the Clippers are probably going to win 122 to 120 in overtime. I mean, I could just see something like that happening because, like I said, the Clippers just don't fear any lead. I mean, if a team can come back down by 35 points and complete a victory from being down that much, that says a lot about that team and it says a lot about their resiliency. And I haven't seen much resiliency from the Los Angeles Lakers this year. When they've been up by 25 points, they found a way to lose leads like that with 3 superstars on the floor. You can't lose a 25 plus point lead against a team like the OKC Thunder with 3 superstars on the floor. I don't care how many turnovers you have. You still can't lose a lead like that against a team like that. That's just, an example or, hypothetically, but we've seen them do things like that this year with all 3 of their superstars on the floor. And on top of that, they really do have a decent bench. I mean, Carmelo Anthony, if that is one of your bench players, you got a hell of a bench because Carmelo Anthony used to be one of the best scorers in the NBA. Even though he's older, he still has some 17, 20 point games in there where he's knocking down some big threes and big shots. But the problem with the Lakers is they don't have no defense. And, playing against a team like the Clippers, think about it. If they're able to come back from 25 and 35 points, That means they have some type of defense. They really do. They just can't score as good as every other team because they don't have their superstars, which makes tonight's game a showdown to a degree of makes it compelling because the Lakers have at least going to have one superstar on the floor, if not two, and the Clippers are not going to have any, but the Clippers they have just as good as a chance of winning the game as the Lakers do, which is very, very condescending to even think that because the Lakers got the better team and the better roster. So, I mean, in most people's eyes, they would say the Lakers are going to win to tie the series, the regular season series 1-1. And honestly, if you ask me, the Lakers probably need the win more than the Clippers because the Clippers have the better record, which is very, very condescending and weird to even say at this point. I mean, the Lakers are the 9th seed right now. The Clippers are the 8th seed. I mean, how is that even possible? You ask yourself that question, but it's actually a very, very true statement. Like, how is that even possible? I mean, the Clippers don't have no superstars. The Lakers got at least 2 on the floor most nights. And they've lost games that are unfathomable to me. And like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if they lost to the Clippers tonight, but I definitely think if they do find a way to beat them, it's definitely a step towards the right direction because anytime you beat a rivalry team, it just gives you confidence to go forward in your season and make you feel like you could beat any other team because your rivalry team knows you the best. They know what you like to do the best, and they've played you enough to where the history between you two teams, they know what the outcome is going to be. They know it's going to be a tough dog fight, and they know the stars are going to have to show up to win the game because, you know, the role players can only do but so much. But that's not the case with the Clippers. They're almost the complete opposite, which makes this matchup probably a little bit more intriguing than what most people want to give it. But at the same time, in most people's eyes, the Lakers should win. I mean, honestly, I said that about a lot of games earlier this season about the Lakers. They should win. But did they do it? No, they fell short a lot of games where they should have been the better team or they were the better team on the floor roster-wise on paper, but not in outcome. And that's just the one thing with the Lakers I find to be very, very confusing. How do you have so much superstardom, but you can't find a way to do it with arguably the best player in the league still, LeBron James? LeBron James is very, very good, and I understand he's still putting up monster numbers, but he can't win like he used to. You know, he can't help a team win like he used to, and I feel like that hurts the Lakers a lot because he can't put them on his back the way he once could do a lot of his other teams he played for in Cleveland and Miami and propel them to victory because he was able to play both ends of the floor. Now LeBron's defense is so poor because he's older, and we understand that he can't help put this team over the top. And Anthony Davis definitely can't do it because, as I said, he's not healthy enough to put the team over the top, even in which he should be the best player on the team, but he's not. And LeBron James is damn near in year 20, and he's still the best player on the team. And Anthony Davis is supposed to be a top 5 player, but he looks like a top 15 player most nights, or a lot of nights. Not every night, but a lot of nights he does, especially when he plays against superior competition. So it's very, very hard to really figure this team out. It's very hard to figure out how they're going to gel. But, you know, the good side is, or the positivity, the silver lining, Russell Westbrook hasn't been that bad of a turnover machine in the last month. I mean, I've seen him have worse months and I've seen him have worse games. So him not being that bad really isn't saying much because the Lakers still haven't been winning a lot. They've just been kind of treading water, you know, between the 7th and 9th seed. And like I said, now they're playing a Clippers team who's in the spot they would like to be in because they're in the 9th seed on the outside looking in, and the Clippers are in the 8th seed. So if the Lakers win tonight, I think that would actually put them up in the 8th seed and actually knock the Clippers down in the 9th seed. So really tonight has a lot of validity. It has a lot of, you know, substantiarity. It has a lot of, you know, it has a lot of meaning. And when a game has a lot of meaning, you have to find ways to come through in games like that. So this is one of them games where the Lakers are going to have to, you know, play their best and not make many mistakes. And if you do build a lead, you got to be careful because the Clippers are just not a team that you should ever get comfortable with. I mean, as I said before, if a team can come back down from 35, that means no lead against them is safe. That means a 40-point lead might not even be safe against a team like that. So never get comfortable. And keep on the grind. That's the only thing the Lakers are that's the only way they're gonna possibly win this game. But as I said before, looking at these teams the last couple of weeks, I mean, you'd have to give the edge to the Clippers because there's nothing that really bothers them. And when they play good teams or teams that they really actually get up for, they get down in the game early, but it's a tie game in the end, maybe going into overtime, and they find a way to secure the victory. Because as I said before, you could be down 20, 30 points in a game, but a lot of times teams be down 20, 30 points and they come back and tie the game, but a lot of times they don't come back and win it because it takes so much energy to come back in a game. You don't have enough gas to actually finish it off. But that's not the case with the Clippers. They find ways to win games being down that much against better competition with superstars on the opposing teams, and they come back and find a way to win. Some of those wins they got wasn't even in overtime. It took all 4 quarters in regulation. It didn't even go overtime for them to make a comeback. At least if a team is going to make a comeback, it should take overtime or maybe 1 or 2 overtimes to do it. But the Clippers, they find ways to come back in games and beat teams within regulation, not even going to overtime. So it's a very, very crazy situation. Very, very crazy how it is with that team. But that's how they're built. And the Lakers, like I said, it's a big game for them because anytime you can move up in seeding, anytime you can beat a rivalry team, it definitely betters your confidence and better your chances mentality-wise of going forward, propelling through a season to possibly get more victories and build on top of that. Build on top of the confidence that you had of beating a rivalry team and, moving up in the standings, to better your chances of making the playoffs. But hey, that's my take on everything. You leave any comments in the comment section as always. And hey, Khaliis out.